You know that feeling when you're aiming for something really big, like a huge project or learning a new skill?
Oh, yeah. That mountaintop can look pretty far away sometimes.
Exactly. And the whole journey can feel, well, daunting. That's where this whole idea of small wins seems to step in.
Hmm.
And that's what we're doing a deep dive into today based on some really interesting source material we found.
Yeah, it turns out these little victories, they're kind of powerhouses. They keep us going, keep us engaged, feeling good about things.
Right. And when we say small, what are we really talking about? The sources mention things that are almost invisible sometimes.
Totally. Like finishing an assignment on time,
No.
or maybe finally figuring out a tricky problem by yourself.
Okay.
Or think personally, maybe sticking to a workout routine for 3 days straight, or finally understanding some concept you've been wrestling with.
Things we probably just brush past
Yes,
usually.
exactly. We're so focused on that, the big finish line, we don't always give ourselves credit for the steps along the way.
Okay, and I bet some of you listening might be thinking, small wins. Seriously, I'm trying to achieve major goals here.
Right. Why sweat the small stuff kind of attitude?
Yeah. And if that's you, perfect. Stick with us because our mission today is to really unpack why celebrating these minor achievements, according to our sources, isn't just like some fluffy advice.
There's actual psychology behind it, real benefits.
Exactly. Real psychological fuel and some practical ways this can genuinely change how you tackle those big objectives.
So let's get into that. What's happening, under the hood? Our sources point to something pretty fundamental.
Okay.
It seems our brains are basically hardwired to enjoy these small wins. It's not just a nice thought, it's baked into our biology.
Hardwired how, though? What's the brain actually doing when we say finish a task on time?
Well, a big part of it comes down to dopamine, the neurotransmitter.
The feel-good chemical.
Sort of, yeah. Think of it like the brain's little attaboy signal. The research we looked at shows that when we experience something positive, could be big, could be small, like getting a good workout in or just finishing a report, your brain releases this dopamine. And it plays a huge role in regulating emotions. That feeling of pleasure, glee, satisfaction.
And yeah, nation, right.
Crucially, motivation.
Yeah.
It encourages us to repeat whatever behavior led to that good feeling.
Okay, so instead of just waiting for that one massive payoff way down the road,
Which might take ages.
right, we can actually get these little boosts of encouragement more regularly just by noticing and appreciating the steps we're taking.
Precisely. You get these more frequent dopamine hits. And for you, the listener, wanting to, say, learn something quickly but thoroughly, understanding the science shows why celebrating small wins isn't just, a touchy-feely thing.
It's practical.
It's a real biological mechanism that helps you stay engaged, stay motivated in whatever you're pursuing. These little hits reinforce the pathways for that behavior.
Okay, interesting. Now, another angle the sources brought up was confidence and motivation. Because let's face it, when you're on a long-haul project,
Oh, yeah.
it's so easy to feel like you're just spinning your wheels, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you start to doubt if you'll ever actually get there.
That feeling is incredibly draining, constantly chasing something without seeing clear progress. It really chips away at your confidence. But the sources we looked at, they strongly suggest that actively acknowledging these smaller successes is a really powerful antidote to that.
How so?
Well, they argue it's just as important as celebrating the big, flashy wins when it comes to maintaining your belief that you can actually reach those larger goals.
That makes a lot of sense if you're constantly reminding yourself, hey, I did that, I made progress here. Even small progress.
Yeah, it keeps the momentum going.
They must make it easier to stay positive and keep putting in the effort, right?
Exactly. One of the sources used this great phrase, seemingly insignificant moments of self-affirmation.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. It highlights how these little pats on the back we give ourselves, they can actually have a pretty big ripple effect on our overall success.
Yeah.
You're building up this, reserve of positive reinforcement.
Something to draw on when things get tough.
Precisely.
Okay, so beyond just feeling good and staying confident, the sources also talked about learning. How do small wins help us learn? They called them mini experiments.
Yeah, that's a great way to think about it, isn't it? Each small step isn't just progress, it's also like a test run.
A test run for what?
For your strategy. Did that approach work? What could I maybe tweak next time? Each little win, and honestly, even the little failures or stumbles,
Oh, okay.
they give you immediate feedback, information you can use right away to adjust your course and improve how you're tackling the bigger goal.
So it creates this kind of feedback loop. Action, result, learn, adjust, repeat.
Exactly. And the research our sources pointed to was pretty clear on this. People who make a habit of celebrating their wins, even the minor ones, they're significantly more likely to persist when things get difficult. They don't give up as easily.
Why is that, do you think?
Well, the positive emotions sparked by these wins, joy, interest, pride, they actually fuel engagement. And higher engagement generally leads to better performance down the line.
Okay, this is making a lot of sense. We see the why. So let's shift to the how. How do we actually do this? Our sources had some practical strategies. The first one that jumped out was, well, rewarding yourself.
Yes, this is a really concrete one. The sources suggest starting simple, make a list.
A list of what?
Those smaller tasks, the building blocks for your bigger goals. Maybe it's spending, say, 30 minutes a day practicing a new skill, or maybe it's finishing one specific part of a big project.
Okay, got the list. Then what?
Then you commit to a reward beforehand. Decide what you'll give yourself if you successfully complete that task, maybe consistently for a week.
And the rewards don't have to be huge, right? The sources mention things like taking an hour off or buying a book you wanted.
Exactly. Doesn't need to be extravagant. The key, according to the material we reviewed, is that the reward needs to be genuinely meaningful to you, something you actually look forward to.
Makes sense. Otherwise, it won't motivate.
Right. And that consistent recognition, that little treat, it can give you a real energy boost and help keep that motivation humming along. Especially useful if you like having clear, actionable steps.
Okay, reward yourself.
Yeah.
What was the second strategy? Tracking progress. That sounds almost too simple.
It does, but don't underestimate it. Tracking basically gives you a visual record. Here's what I've done, here's what's left.
Like a map of your journey.
Exactly. And it becomes this really concrete source of motivation, especially when you hit those tough patches, those moments where you feel like you're stuck.
Or tempted to just give up.
Because it's so easy to forget how far you've actually come when you're just staring at the road ahead, isn't it?
Totally. You might be way closer to the finish line than you feel in that moment.
Precisely. And one source even made the point that just the act of writing down these small wins can feel rewarding in itself.
Really? How?
Well, you jot down every little accomplishment, every bit of effort. Over time, you start to see patterns, you visualize the momentum building, and that reinforces your belief. Hey, I am moving forward.
Okay, I can see how that would work. Rewarding yourself, tracking progress. Now, the sources also specifically talked about applying this at work.
Yeah, which is super relevant, right? We spend so much of our time working.
Definitely.
Yep.
So how does celebrating small wins translate to the office or, your business?
Well, the idea is that bringing this practice into your work life can seriously boost happiness, productivity, even your passion for what you do. And they gave some really down-to-earth examples.
Okay, but like what? Let's hear them.
All right. One was simply about taking intentional short breaks, like actually getting up and taking a quick walk outside during the day.
Good for body and mind, right? A little reset.
Exactly. Proactive self-care built into the workday. Another one I liked was buying yourself flowers after you successfully ran a difficult meeting.
Oh, that's nice. Like a deliberate act of self-acknowledgement.
It highlights that idea of consciously recognizing your own effort, your own contribution, which, the sources suggest, is vital for avoiding burnout.
Okay, what else?
Then there was the simple pleasure of enjoying a really good lunch, maybe something you brought from home, or a treat from a favorite cafe after hitting an important deadline.
Tying the reward directly to the accomplishment.
Ugh.
Simple but effective.
Yeah, and one more. Dedicating just a little bit of time each week. They even suggested maybe 15 minutes on a Wednesday morning to learn something new related to your bigger life goals.
Fostering that sense of continuous growth.
Exactly. Build skills, feels like progress. The common thread here seems to be making these small, intentional acts of recognition part of your routine.
Especially when they tie back to your bigger goals.
Right. It keeps motivation high, keeps you engaged, and ultimately just makes work more satisfying. Good things to remember whether you're prepping for a big meeting or just getting through the week.
So, wrapping this up then. The core message from our deep dive today seems pretty clear.
Yeah, it really boils down to this. Actively appreciating those small victories, it isn't just, a nice extra. It seems pretty essential for keeping your drive up and maintaining a positive outlook while you're chasing those big goals.
Right. It's about creating that steady stream of inspiration, keeping your interest peaked.
And building the confidence you need to tackle the next challenge and the one after that.
Yeah. And the sources we looked at, they actually end by turning it back to you, the listener, posing some direct questions.
Things like, what small celebrations do you currently have in place to keep yourself motivated?
And Do you believe that recognizing these minor victories is essential for your overall success? Good questions for reflection.
Definitely makes you think about your own approach.
And that kind of leaves us with one final thought for you to chew on. How might your experience of progress, and maybe even your ultimate success, change if you intentionally designed small, achievable steps into your bigger goals,
And then made a point to actively celebrate hitting each one of those steps along the way.
making the journey itself more rewarding, maybe more sustainable, one small win at a time?